Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of The Bullet. My name is Paul Lathrop. I'm the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. Joining me today, and it's not even his day, Charlie Cook of Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Charlie's normally every other Monday, and he's scheduled this coming Monday, but the guy who usually does today, Rob Morris, is somewhere underwater in Florida, and so Charlie said, yeah, I'll do it. So here he is. Charlie, thanks for coming along today, man.
Happy to. I'm going to try to do my best, Rob Morris. I'm Charlie Cook.
when he tries, he's got a very soft and slow voice, and it's a good thing he's got a good microphone, because otherwise it just wouldn't pick up.
Yeah, it is. He's got a very unlike me. He thinks before he speaks, so he speaks very intentionally.
Yes, he absolutely does, and then he writes very intentionally too. You can tell it in his writing. His stuff is not only accurate; it is very well thought out, and I love that about him. There's a reason I call him the smartest guy I know. He really is. His career before he retired, he was a friggin' nuclear engineer.
Wow.
Yeah, so far above my intelligence level. But yeah. All right, let's get social media connected here. I want to remind everybody as I'm doing that, if you want to get your comments in, you can comment if you're seeing this in the Polite Society podcast feeds, you can comment on the live video. If you're catching it on OpsLens or anywhere else that picks us up, you can, doggone it, there we go, find posts. You can tweet with the hashtag #TheBullet, and we'll get those and we'll put those on the air and discuss them as well. And there we go. We've already got Krabby Turtle over on the YouTube side checking in.
All right.
So, Charlie, let's go ahead and get started with the news. This one came in as I was closing out the bullet yesterday. I didn't have time to get it on the air. This from the home offices in Washington State. Second Amendment Foundation and its partners today filed a federal lawsuit asking declaratory and injunctive relief against the city of Glendale, California, and its police chief and city clerk. The case is known as CRPA versus Glendale. And this is a quote from my boss, Alan Gottlieb. The city of Glendale's municipal code generally bans possession of firearms and ammunition on any city property, with no exception for citizens with concealed carry permits. This ban applies not just to city property, but also publicly controlled property or public affiliated property, with the only exceptions being streets, roads, and sidewalks. Such restrictions relegate the right to keep and bear arms to the status of a strictly regulated government privilege. Our lawsuit is blunt, Gottlieb continued. The Glendale ordinance is unconstitutional. Supreme Court has made it clear that the right to keep and bear arms for personal protection extends outside the home. As we note in our complaint, the burden is on the city to prove that all areas falling within the definition of city property are so-called sensitive places, and they cannot do it. As explained in the 24-page complaint, the city has, and get this, last time I read off a list like this, I put Charlie's face up there and left him just Charlie looking. We're not going to do that this time. As
7 minutes, Paul.
Yeah,
7 minutes is how long you left me on the air.
Without me. I'm not doing that this time. As explained in the 24-page complaint, the city has 47 parks and recreation facilities, including 4 community centers, 1 golf course, 3 soccer fields and 16 ball fields, playgrounds, 8 public libraries, 3 downtown parking structures, and other city-owned or operated parking lots. the Glendale Civic Auditorium, the Civic Center Complex, a youth center, an emergency center, undefined open spaces and plazas, and an unknowable amount of properties in the possession of private companies under contract with the city. Finishing up Gottlieb's quote here, that broad definition essentially turns much, if not most, of the city into a gun-free zone where the Second Amendment rights do not exist, and that simply doesn't pass the smell test. We are hopeful the court quickly recognizes this and grants our request. Charlie, it certainly sounds to me like the court should. It sounds like most of the city is now going to be a gun-free zone, and that's something that Thomas, when he wrote the Bruin decision, said, you can't do this.
Right. I mean, this is what we see in New York City with them saying that Central Park is a sensitive area, and you can't have sensitive areas just because they're sensitive areas. I love this how they undefined open spaces and plazas. Undefined open spaces and plazas reminds me of the old Republican definition of pornography, which is, I know it when I see it.
Yes. I
So
can't
this is
explain it, but I know it when I see it, yeah.
Exactly. Let's see. That's an open space. Let's make it a gun-free zone.
Yeah, exactly.
All of this, like they say, the only place is the streets and the roads. It kind of reminds me, in sidewalks. It reminds me of that. And I know I get on people for having timely references, so I know this is a timely reference itself. But it's like in Field of Dreams, when Ray Liotta gets to the edge of the field and Kevin Costner's like, hey man, like come on up to the house, and Ray Liotta stops at the edge of the field and looks down and he's like, I can't cross over here because I'm going to disappear. Like I'm going to go back to this is what it looks like. People with guns can walk on the streets, but they can't walk. They can't cross off the street, or they can't get off the sidewalk. This is exactly what it reminds me of.
Yeah, you're allowed to, in your own, from your house to your driveway, in your car, you can drive around in your car if you have a California concealed carry permit. You can park your car, you can walk on the sidewalk, but you better not leave the sidewalk while you're concealed carrying that gun, because everywhere else is a sensitive place.
A sensitive place, exactly. Well, and I discovered this a couple summers ago, going to film some shows in the Midwest. I could, and you know this too. You can carry a gun in Illinois when you're driving, but not when you get out of your vehicle. Like,
right.
What? It's nuts. So what do you do when you have to get gas? You take your gun out and you put it in a console safe or something. I mean, this is insane that they would do this.
Now, speaking as a guy who drove truck for nearly 20 years, for truck drivers, it's not as big of a deal as for car drivers, because we've got this sleeper that's right behind us. And when you stop the truck in the fuel island, you stand up, you park it, of course, you set the parking brake, get out of the driver's seat, you go in the bunk, you close the curtain, disarm, lock it up, then you go out and do what you need to do. But yeah, in a car, imagine doing that instead of in a big 18-wheeler with a big sleeper that you can walk around in. Imagine doing that in a Fiat 500.
Right. In a parking lot where everyone can see inside your car.
Yes.
Or if you're in a lower car, if somebody is next to you in a truck, they can see what you're doing. I mean, this is all ridiculous that you'd have to disarm to do all this sort of stuff. And Glendale's just outside of Los Angeles, so they're not going to get any help from anything in Los Angeles. Let me get
some comments in. Our comments are all coming from Facebook, and I don't know that, and that's unusual. We usually get a lot more comments from YouTube, but all our comments today are coming from Facebook. Let me get into a few of them here. Let me hit this button, and Ed from Facebook says, "Evening, boys." Hey, Ed. He also says, Sensitive areas need bars in the windows, fortified doors, and airport-style screening at the entrances. And they need better than airport screening. They need Fort Knox type screening. I want to be sure not only if they're going to disarm me, I want to be sure every single person, period, going in there is disarmed, not just me.
Friday I went to, oh my gosh, Bellefonte, Pennsylvania to get a Pennsylvania carry permit, and I went into the courthouse. And of course, as soon as you step in the courthouse, they have a metal detector. I wasn't carrying a firearm. I had one unloaded in a locked secure container in my car, but I did have a knife on me. So I went in, I walked in, I thought that was where I needed to apply, and they said it's not. So I'm like, okay, cool. And I said I offered to take my knife out and whatnot. And he says, well, you're in the wrong building. You have to go to this building. And after I started to apply for the permit, I went back down to, I think it was the courthouse. Might have been the courthouse, whatever, the city hall. I had to use the bathroom. And the lady that was in front of me, that walked in the building in front of me, worked there, and she bypassed the metal detector. So when people go into places that have metal detectors, there are some people that bypass them. So even if we have some place that's secure and fortified and whatnot, there can still be people that slip in.
Yes, and the same with the courthouse here in my hometown, the county courthouse. It is the same way. If you're a lawyer, if you're a judge, if you're somebody that works in the clerk of court's office or whatever, you bypass the metal detector, that burns me, because has a judge ever slipped a gear? Has a clerk of court's worker ever slipped a gear? Of course they have. Are they human? Of course they are. If I've got to do it, you got to do it.
Absolutely. I have. It wasn't long after September 11th that I started to become a gun guy. Excuse me. And I found some little knife on the internet that's probably about this big, and it's I guess it's a polymer knife, and they say it's undetectable. And dude, I'm telling you, I've wanted to go to places with this in my pocket, go up to the security guy and say, hey, listen, here's $10. I'm going to walk in, I'm going to walk out. You make $10. If the metal detector, I want to see if the metal detector goes off. That's all I want to do. Here's $10 for your time. I'm walking in, I'm walking out. I'll be out of here in 7 seconds.
I got to say, my favorite knife, I always have a knife on me. Always. My favorite knife right now, because I cannot forget it, it resides in my wallet, is right here. And I'll get it nice and close so the camera can see it. It is a riding shotgun with Charlie credit card knife. And this little guy here is really stinking sharp.
It is really sharp. I had to leave one at the Hartford airport a week and a half ago. Like legit, I unload my stuff to fly to Dallas, and the guy takes my tray, and he looks at me, and I'm like, oh no. I'm like, it's in the wallet. He's like, yep. So he's like, opens a wallet, takes it out. He's like, do you want to take it back to your car? I'm like, no, I don't. I'm like, it's not worth the hassle. I've got more of them at home.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, and that's unfortunate. That's now I'm going to let you give out a plug here. How can people get, because these knives are really cool, and like I said, if I've got my wallet on me, I've got a knife on me. How can people get these?
So I still have a few of them left. If they just email me at writingshotgunwithcharlie@gmail.com, we can set something up. I used to have I think I had a PayPal thing set up on my website, but if they just email me, we'll work something out.
Yeah,
honestly, I've been usually pretty generous with them, because I don't know, I bought a couple hundred of them a few years ago, and I thought I could sell them, and you know how it is. You buy something, you give most of them away.
Susan and I bought, I want to say it was 1,500 pens that have Polite Society podcast on them. And we, with the intention of taking them to AMCON and 2 gun rights policy conference and giving them away. We've had those things 6 years now because for 2 years there was no gun rights policy conference, and one of the years AMCON was virtual only. We've been trying, and we've still got I think 30 of them left. We've been trying our best to get rid of those pens. So yeah, I know exactly how that goes. Let me get to a couple of more comments in here. Get this one in. This one also from Facebook. Michael says Eric Adams signs Times Square gun-free zone law today. Gun-free zone into law today. I guess he's not part of the United States. Michael, I expect that to last about 40 to 50 seconds. I would expect there's going to be a lawsuit tomorrow, and I'm not exaggerating on that at all. I don't expect that law. It's already been ruled. Last week it was ruled too broad in federal court, specifically saying the judge says you cannot make all of Times Square a gun-free zone, a sensitive place. A federal judge ruled that, and I forget the judge's name, but last week Gun Owners of America got that ruling. I would expect either SAF or GOA or maybe FPC to be back in court or back filing in the next 24 to 48 hours, and I don't expect that law to last very long at all.
These anti-gunners, man, they've got all the Bloomberg money, and it never ends. Like, it really never ends. And all they just want to do is they want to sue us into being broke, sue us into poverty.
Yeah, and it doesn't, because they're spending tax money, and there's no end to tax money. If you run out, you raise taxes. And we, on the other hand, have to get donations. We have to get fundraising. We have to get, we don't have unlimited money like the government entities do. So, yeah, for them, a couple million, no big deal. Just tax the sodas more. We'll get it. So, and shameless plug, that's why you need to be a member of Second Amendment Foundation.
And even if you are a member, if you play a lottery ticket and you make an extra $50, hey man, send it their way. There's nothing wrong with sending Second Amendment Foundation extra money. Absolutely.
Next one. Smeggy says, I'm here to represent YouTube. We are here. Thank you, Smeggy.
All right.
Ed said, lawyers in Virginia are officers of the court. They don't have to be screened. Well, I would imagine that's what they use here in South Dakota as well. In my county courthouse, is that they're officers of the court. Therefore, they don't have to be screened. I don't care, because lawyers go nuts too. Lawyers are people too. Lawyers can do bad things too. I want to defend myself if somebody does a bad thing. If they're allowed to go through without disarming, so should I be able to go through without disarming. They aren't any better than me.
This is where we realize that there are there's more than one tier of people. There's the ruling class. There's the Anthony Calandra likes to say there's the ruling class, there's the illegals, and then there's us.
Yes,
we're the third tier.
And let me get this in there. And I don't know if you can hear them pounding out of my driveway right now. They're doing some work to my driveway, and the driveway is quite literally 30 feet that away. So if you can hear it, it's a nice beat, Dick, but it's not really danceable. And that dates me. But anyway, Michael says Center County Police Department is the only county that issues non-resident permits.
Oh, in Pennsylvania?
Yeah. I guess so.
I had to go through like 3 or 4 counties to get to, I think it's in Center County where Bellefonte is. Pike County doesn't issue them. Wayne County might not be issuing them. I think Lackawanna did issue them, but I would have to submit a permit. Then they were going to snail mail my references, and then when they heard back from my references, then they were going to do a background check, and then I would have 30 days to go pick up the permit. So I don't know when that would be. I don't know when everything would go through, but then I'd have 30 days to make a 6 or 7 hour round trip to go pick up the permit. So I made the 6 hours to get out there, and then I came back 3 hours and went to the Rod of Iron. So
Not not to intentionally tease you, but here in free America, when I went to go get my South Dakota enhanced permit, to go get the free permit, you go down to the sheriff's office, or the regular carry permit, which is good in, like, I think I'm going to say it's like 30 states. You go down to the sheriff's office, you say, I'd like a permit. They have you sign a paper. You go back in a week and you get it. The enhanced permit, you have to get fingerprints, and then they have to go to they send the fingerprints to the Fibbies, and when the Fibbies get done with them and send back the clearance, then they call you back. And it took Fibbies about a month to do what they were going to do, but I mean, it was a 10-minute drive to the sheriff's office, and then a month later, it was a 10-minute drive to the sheriff's office, and my total cost again was zero. So
beautiful. Well, to bring this back to the first story we did, the people that are getting carry permits are taking training in occupied territory or in some states.
Not
they
cheap.
are, yeah, they're spending money, they're spending time to take classes and get training. They're possibly spending money on some self-defense insurance, whether it's with USCCA or ACDLN or US Law Shield. They're also going through background checks. They're going. These are the people. These are the upstanding citizens in the community that aren't lawbreakers, that aren't criminals, and these are the people that they want to literally keep on the streets and on the sidewalks, and not let them go into parks and, oh my gosh, parks and undefined open spaces and plazas and playgrounds and public libraries and downtown parking centers. These people have gone through everything they need to do to prove that they're a good upstanding citizen, and the city of Glendale does not want these people out and about.
Well, we've only got about 8 minutes left. I want to get at least one more story in.
Oh, yes.
This is off Las Vegas Sun. On Monday, the Mexican government filed another lawsuit against U.S. companies it claims are responsible for the flow of illegal weapons into Mexico. The first lawsuit, which was recently dismissed, targeted U.S. gun manufacturers. The second, which Foreign Affairs Secretary Marcelo Ebrard said was filed in Arizona Monday, appears to target gun dealers. Ebrard said, quote, "We're suing them because there's clearly a pattern. We contend it's obvious there is weapons trafficking. It is known that these guns are going to our country." He promised last week the new lawsuit would target gun shops or dealers in U.S. border states who sell guns to straw purchasers who pass them on to smugglers who then take weapons into Mexico. Charlie, I think you and I have talked about this before, and I do remember Cam Edwards wrote a story on this last week. The problem with guns in Mexico is 30% of the guns that we sold to the Mexican military are missing. Where are the guns in Mexico coming from? Well, they're flowing south from Central America. They're flowing from the south, from Central America into Mexico. And the Mexican military is losing them to the cartels in Mexico. That's where the guns are coming from. And there's probably a few Fast and Furious guns that are floating around yet, too.
I'm sure there are some Fast and Furious guns floating around. The thing with straw purchases is somebody buys a gun illegally to give to someone who cannot legally possess a firearm, but the person that bought it, they check the box and say that the gun is going to be for them, and then they give it to someone else. Well, that's illegal. So how do you stop straw purchases from happening? Like this is How do you stop strong purchases?
It's just the same as going after a Ford dealership to stop drunk drivers.
Yeah.
I
I I was teaching a class a couple years ago, and some woman wanted to get into it with me, and she said, "Well, well, what if somebody lies on their application for their license to carry and says that they haven't been confined to a hospital or institution?" I'm like, "Well, then they lied on the application. Well, what are they going to do about it? Then it's going to be a crazy person that gets a gun. Well, I don't know. I don't know. Like, shoot them? Like, is that the game plan?" It's somebody that lied on their permit or lied on their application, that they lied on their application. So what do you do if they lie on the application and nothing happens? Nothing. If they lie on the application and something happens, then we're back to something happens. But how do there's HIPAA laws and all sorts of crap. I don't know how you prevent people from lying on stuff.
Yeah, you got me. And we talked with you, and for those who didn't watch or listen to the Polite Society podcast that we did last night, it was just Charlie and me, and we interviewed Robert Young. And yeah, if you are, it's been for a long time now, if you are involuntarily committed, and sometimes in places like New York, even if you're voluntarily committed, you fail NICS for life. So it's extremely hard to get that reversed and extremely expensive. So to answer that lady's question, I'm right there with you. What if somebody lies? I don't know. I wouldn't recommend lying, but if they do,
yeah, I mean, what do you do if people speed? I don't know. Put up more signs. What do you do if somebody brings a gun into a gun-free zone? Put up bigger signs? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here. We got time for one more story, and this one's a Tom Knighton story from Bearing Arms. He wrote this from him was a story loaded with snark, but and that's Tom.
From Tom Knight, shocking.
Yes. Law enforcement officials in New York have seen a sharp rise in the recovery of guns manufactured using a 3D printer since they were first outlawed in 2019, according to an assessment by the Rockefeller Institute of Government released this month. The number of firearms made through 3D printing process recovered has grown from 100 guns in 2019 to 637 firearms last year, the analysis found. The number is small compared to illegal guns seized by police overall that have flowed into New York from other states and have been linked to crimes. Still, the growth in 3D printed gun recoveries underscores how much of a challenge hard to trace firearms pose. The guns do not have serial numbers and can be manufactured without required background checks. This is really New York swimming against the current. You cannot stop. You cannot stop the signal, Kenneth. This is going to happen. The cat's out of the bag. There are 3D printers. The files are out there. They fit on a darn thumb drive. And how do I put this? People are going to do what people are going to do. Meth is illegal. People find a way to get it. Marijuana in most of the country, at least half of the country, well, some of the country, is illegal. In places where marijuana is not illegal, do people still get it? Just because you say something's illegal and you create a law, people are still going to do what people are going to do.
Yeah, I mean, look, all these illegal drugs, it starts off with illegal, right? I was telling someone, I'm like, look, this is how you know I don't do drugs. I don't even know where to find meth. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, I don't know anyone that does this, right? And the people I see that might do this, I'm like, ooh, that dude's a little freaky looking. I'm not going to go talk to them. So people you can't legislate, unlike what they want to do in New York, where they want to legislate morality or at least judge people's morality. You can't legislate morality.
Yeah. Get a few more comments in. We're right down at the bottom of the hour, but I want to get a few more comments in before we go away. A couple from Smeggy to start. Going back to the Mexico story, Mexico border security is non-existent. I did work there and crossed every day. They just waved me in.
Wonderful.
I lived in San Diego in 1995 to 1998, and I went into Tijuana to buy cigarettes because cigarettes were dirt, dirt, dirt cheap compared to California. And so every 2 weeks when I got paid, I would go into Tijuana to buy enough cigarettes to get me through 2 weeks. And the security going into Mexico was then absolutely non-existent. Period. Security coming back, there was some. I haven't gone into Mexico. Goodness, 22, 23 years. So I couldn't tell you now. He also says, I saw a thing, people are going 60 in 35 zone. The anti-gun answer is to lower the limit to 30.
Exactly.
All right. And one more, Michael from Facebook side says, micro pocket guns for gun-free zones.
Yeah. I was hanging out with somebody at GRPC, a local, and he had, I don't even know what it was, one of these little guns that folds up into, it looks like a little mini multi-tool.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is, and it shoots 22 shorts. It holds 3 rounds, and you put in 1 round at a time. It's one of these things that you crack open, you put in the round. It's kind of a cool little thing, and I look at this and I'm like, I'm sure that's not legal in the 8 states where Bruin should be taking effect. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's something that I could own in Massachusetts.
Well, move to Texas, move to South Dakota, move to free America, man.
Free America. I'm telling you, I think about it, but I need to sit down and write a plan and then start selling feet pictures.
All right. Well, we're 2 minutes over time. We burned up the time we have. On our way out, man, as I always do, I want you to plug Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Anything else you want to plug, man? What you got?
Yeah, so as I said last night on Polite Society, Writing Shotgun with Charlie is at the Armed Lifestyle magazine. I revisited my interview with Cheryl and Danny Todd, and from Gun Freedom Radio. And there's actually an extra interview I did with them that I put on YouTube as well. It's on the Writing Shotgun with Charlie. I put out a show today with Nathan Hollywell from Next Belt, which is new. You can listen to it in podcast. You can check it out on YouTube and on Gunstreamer. And I want to put a plug in for you. I listened to the newest Meet the Pressers that has you and the award-winning John Petrolino and the other award winner, Amanda Suffolcool. And you guys were on with Matt Mallory, and I listened to that as I went into work this morning. So I know you try to shy away from when you do other things, and it was a nice interview. Here, the three of you guys hang out and kind of recap what happened at Gun Rights Policy Conference this year.
That was fun. That was a fun one to do. And I will lend my voice to anybody. If you have a show and you want me to come on your show, ask. I'll do it. It's as long as it's not conflicting with something else I'm doing at that moment in time. Yes, the answer is yes. But I don't often like to toot my own horn about I'm going here, I'm going there. How do I put this? I like doing what I do, and I like getting credit for if credit's to be gotten. I like getting credit for the bullet. I like getting credit for PSP. So anyway, let's go ahead and shut this one down. I want to encourage everybody, do come back tomorrow. Dan Waz is going to be the commentator tomorrow. I've not heard from him, but I'm fairly sure he's safely back in New York after GRPC and everything's on schedule. So he'll be our commentator tomorrow.
Or he could be Charlie Cook again. We're not sure.
Well, it depends on if Dan has to bow out and Charlie can get back home in a hurry. So,
right.
Thanks for watching today, everybody. Do come join us 5 p.m. Central Time tomorrow. Until then,